This is Known Podcast, hosted by Dustin Bennett, the lead pastor of Known Victory Church in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Known Podcast is dedicated to helping you grow closer to Jesus, unleashing the power of your creativity, and developing you as a leader. We hope you enjoy today's episode.
All right, well, welcome back, Known Podcast. We're so excited that you're joining us again for a new episode. And today I'm so excited to have with me one of my first guests too, which is Alan Goff. Alan and I have known each other for a while, been friends now for a while, and we just decided to bring you on. So why don't you share, Alan, maybe a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, Dustin, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm honored to be here. I'm a little bit freaked out and scared to be here, to be honest with you. I've never done this thing before. Right. You know, wearing the Mickey Mouse ears. I'm afraid I'm going to look bald, you know, to your listenership here. But the voice with this thing, boy, that really makes me sound good. Yeah. You know, the last 17 years, Dustin, though, I've been making my living in the motivational speaking world. Right. So I'm the guy that would get hired by corporations to come and be the opening or the closing keynote at a conference or a convention or a large seminar. That career then began to move me into corporate training. Okay. You know, people would say, "Hey, I saw you speak at that event. I like your style. You've got a different edge. You got a different way of unpacking that subject than we're accustomed to. Could you come in and spend some time with us and our team?" And so I began to do that. And it was from inside of that environment that I really saw such a gap between, you know, what people know and what people actually do. Yes. And then not getting the result that they say they want or that they're really hoping for. So that automatically began to move me to serve as a coach. Right. And so really I've worn a number of hats all under the same umbrella the last good number of years. Professional speaker, corporate trainer, and success coach, results consultant.
That's amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you for being on. We're excited, and thank you for sharing a little bit of what you do. So, you know, this is maybe a new environment, but this kind of context isn't brand new.
Oh, absolutely. The context isn't new to me at all, but the environment sure is. I'm way more comfortable when I'm on a platform in front of thousands or tens of thousands of people. That's where I'm comfortable. This is freaking me out, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first time I did it, too, I'll be honest, because I'm used to, again, talking, you know, as a pastor, I'm on stages. Yeah. But this is such a different thing, right? Because it's, you know, we're just having a conversation. But I'm excited for today. And today's topic is something I think you're super passionate about and something that I'm super passionate about, which is closing the gap of my vision and my now.
That's a huge subject. Dustin, we could talk about this. I know. This could be easily the 4-hour podcast per setting. We could talk about this probably for 4 days.
I'm sure we could. Maybe we'll have to do it again, you know, bring this topic back because it's so key. And so I guess
by popular demand.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess the first question is, in your life, how have you closed that gap between, you know, your now? Because I'm sure there's been moments where your now wasn't really where you want it to be. Right. And then your vision of, okay, this is my dream or this is what I want my future to look like. So how have you done that? Maybe just share a quick story of that.
Well, wow. Try to take a big story and put it into probably you want me to do that in a few seconds. You know, I'm a strange guy. You get to know me, you're going to go, that's a strange guy. Right. I've been a strange guy my whole life, as a strange kid. Ever since I was 10 years old, I knew that I wanted to grow up and either be a preacher or a motivational speaker. Right. That was what I wanted to do. And I had this vision in my head as a kid. Now, I know most kids don't have that kind of vision. You know, in my era, that would have been, I know I'm older than you, but back in, you know, at 10, that was 1975. Right. Most kids, boys, they wanted to be an astronaut when they grew up or a policeman, something, but not a motivational speaker.
Yeah. A hero.
A hero, that's right. I had that vision in my head ever since I was that young. Right. And I just knew that one day I wanted to do that. But yet we get on this journey and I'm going through school, and then what are you going to do after school? And, you know, do you go to college, you go to university, you get into trades, you know, whatever. My dad had a very different vision for my life. Yep. My dad had a vision that I would follow him in his footsteps and get into the family business. And one day, you know, one and only son takes over the family business and off I go. And for a lot of years, I pursued that path because, you know, I want my parents to be proud of me. Totally. You think that, you know, people in those positions of authority have your best interest at heart. Yep. And so you follow that. And I realized that I was not following my vision, but I was following somebody else's vision for my life. And I learned something very, very valuable in that. And maybe I'm taking it aside already. But number one was you have to know what your own vision for your life is. Yep. You're going to have a very difficult time being fulfilled and being, you know, satisfied, and that's a very good thing to be satisfied. It's not a egocentric thing. It's not a selfish thing. If you're trying to fulfill somebody else's vision for your life, and so you ask me, well, how did I close that gap? Well, number one is that I needed to get to a place that required a lot of courage. It took me a lot of time to build that courage, and that was to walk away from and sever myself from my dad's vision for my life and go after the vision that I had for my life.
And that's as a kid, even if, you maybe weren't a kid, but it's scary. Like so scary when you're stepping out on your own saying, okay, now I'm going to pursue my passion or what I believe, even God has called me to do.
Sure.
Saying, no, Dad, I'm done. Like that's a scary place.
I still remember the day. I mean, when I could see the writing on the wall and Dad was already making plans on the calendar. Al's going to take over the business kind of on this date and that's getting closer. And I started to get physically ill and sick when I saw that day coming closer. I thought, this isn't the plan for my life. This isn't the vision for my life. This isn't what I want to do. This is what I feel called to do. This has nothing to do with my gifts and talents and abilities. This doesn't fire up my passions or interests or anything like that.
Right.
And I knew that I needed to just let that go. And Dustin, I remember the day when I walked into the office and I handed Dad my letter of resignation.
Wow.
And I said, with all due respect, I said, this is your vision for my life. It's not my vision for my life. And I need to go live my vision. I need to fulfill the vision I have for my life.
Right.
And I need to say goodbye. And I mean, that caused some difficulties. You got to understand that. But then all of a sudden, I found myself, in hindsight, in a place where a lot of people, I think, that are watching and listening to this will find themselves. A lot of people that came before me experienced this, and a lot of people that will come after me experienced this. And I realized that my fears, my worries, my doubts, and my anxieties got the best of me. And for a while, like I was at this great transition place where I thought, now I can go fulfill that vision. Now I can go after that dream. And I let like I said, my fears and doubts and insecurities get in the way. Right. And it didn't take very long. And I convinced myself that maybe I need to go back to that thing that I just walked away from, because that's what I was trained to do. Yep. That's what I learned to be good at. I learned to be the good skill set to do that. And I was experiencing success there.
Right.
But yet, and so I did. I went back to that thing I just walked away from.
Right.
And I put a pause button on my vision and pursuing my vision for another 10 years, another whole decade, before I finally built the courage and the confidence to say, my dream is not for sale.
Right.
I'm not going to let anybody else buy it through a good wage or a salary.
Well, because I think sometimes it's comfortable, right? Because you're like, this is what I've done for 20 years, or this is what I've done for 10 years. I know how to do it. Yeah. I'm comfortable here. I know where to park. I know it all. I know my salary. And then you're stepping on your own. Like, do I have a salary? Like those things come.
And in those years, gosh, I wasn't married very many years. I think I was only married. I wasn't married very many. I had a little toddler and a mortgage. Oh. And I'm like, I just left this to go pursue that. And I don't know how to pursue that. I mean, how do you go from redneck oil field guy to motivational speaker guy? And my wife's going, you do know you have a mortgage payment coming on Friday, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think when we talk about vision, I mean, one of the questions is, how do you capture it? But I think you have to, if you're going to pursue your vision, there's some sacrifices that have to be made. You're going to have to sacrifice something. And usually it's comfort.
True that.
Yeah. Or huge. Because we're doubting what it's going to look like, but our salary's consistent or whatever. So I'm not going to pursue it because no chance. Right. Like that's too scary. But I think the courage is so needed when it comes to vision. So I guess even, shared a little bit of that. Like, how did you capture that vision? And how would we, maybe we're listening, we're like, okay, I know that what I'm doing right now is not what I want to be doing. Right. I know there's something more, but what is it?
Yeah. So you're asking me, how do we discover what the vision is for our life?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whew.
Good luck. 2 hours later.
The time, right? We got 4 hours on this one.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think everybody has the opportunity that I had. Maybe that's not even the right way to say that, where you have you capture a vision for your life at such a young age.
Right.
However, I know something that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt is that everybody has a purpose to fulfill in their life. Right. And the vision is the vehicle that you're going to use to fulfill the purpose. See, for me, and maybe it might mess up the whole rest of this conversation, but for me, the vision isn't the end thing.
Right.
The vision is the vehicle that gives wheels, if you can say, to the fulfillment of your purpose. It's right. How do I go from here, and I'm going to go there? The vision is how I get from here to there. So the vision is the vehicle that you use that puts wheels on the fulfillment of the purpose of your life. Now, everybody has a purpose for their life. Yeah. There isn't a person on the planet that's here, by mistake. Mm-hmm. And so every person has a purpose to fulfill. That means you have gifts and talents and abilities and strengths already uniquely designed into your DNA that fall in line with the thing or the things, the few things that you're most passionate to do, that if you do that, puts you at your highest level of potential to fulfill the thing that you're created to do.
Yeah.
And that's an innate thing. So maybe I'm straying again, but how do I figure out what my vision is? I would say number one is begin to figure out, and it's one of the things I've done for ages, I guess the last, like I said, 17 years working more primarily as a results consultant or a success coach, is helping people understand, discover for themselves, what is your areas of, I call them your tags. What are your tags? Your talents, abilities, gifts, and strengths. When you can figure out what those 4 things are and mine them to the surface, I can guarantee you something's going to happen. You're going to become so excited that you're going to move beyond something you're just interested in, and you're going to discover the thing or the few things that you're most passionate about, because your talents, abilities, gifts, and strengths are already aligned with the thing or things that you're most passionate about. So how do I discover my vision? For me, it comes down to first discovering, mining to the surface, your talents, abilities, gifts, and strengths. That, by default, will begin to move you in the direction of discovering the thing or the things that you're most passionate about. When you can bring those things together, now you're living at a much higher level of potential. The purpose begins to open itself and reveal itself to you. And now it becomes, now what's the vision that I'm going to use to get me from here to there by expressing my gifts and talents and abilities and strengths?
Yeah.
Does it even make sense?
Yeah,
Am I just babbling?
I think it does, because I think like passion is so important with vision, because I think a lot of us we're living in a position where we're not working in our passion, and we're not doing anything that we're passionate about. We're just doing it because we have to. We have to pay the bills. We have to get food on our table, and so we're just doing it because we have to.
And we're numbed out.
Yeah,
bored, stupid.
Yeah, and we're like, there's got to be more for me. And I think vision is, I think John Maxwell even describes it as vision is basically, as leaders, we have to see more and we have to see before. We have to see more than anyone else and see before anyone else.
That is so 100% bang on.
I think a lot of the times we're waiting in our own lives for someone else to see the more and someone else to see the before, where it's like no one's going to do that for you. You might be blessed with a great leader who's going to push you to be better, but a lot of us, we have to wait until we're willing to see more for our life, or we're willing to see before anyone else. Because I know for me, in my life, I've had so many people look at me and I'm like, this is my vision. They're like, no chance. You're not talented enough. You're not good looking enough. You don't have the qualifications. You don't have the education. And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to go forward and I'm just going to see the more that God has for you. That might mean getting an education. That might mean a career change, whatever. But I have to see that for me. Like you said, your dad saw the more and saw the before, but you had to pursue that for yourself.
You said something really important right there, Dustin, and I wish I had a better memory so that I could just repeat verbatim what you just said. But you said you're going to run into people that are going to sort of the naysayers, the crabs in the barrel that are going to pull you down, right? You're not good enough. You're not educated enough. You're not good looking enough. Well, I don't know about you. I'm gorgeous. I'm kidding, right?
Yeah.
No,
great
whatever,
smile.
right?
Yeah.
So you're not this. I'm not this. I'm not this. Or you're not this. I'm not this. Well, they don't have the vision for your life that you do.
Yeah.
And so we also need to understand that if we allow ourselves to put faith in those kinds of comments, or we put importance on those kinds of people that are saying things like that, we're never going to fulfill the vision that we have for our lives.
Yeah. Never.
It's I kind of lost a little bit of the train of thought I had on there, but it's a very important thing to realize. You've got to have the courage, there's that word again, to move away from that kind of influence, because it is an influence, and put yourself in an influence conducive to the growth of the vision that's been planted in your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and get around the people who are going to help you get there too.
Yeah,
is so key, right? I think
so
even
key.
As we were chatting a little bit about this, we were talking about Joseph, right?
Right.
And this all comes out in that story. This whole everything we're talking about, where Joseph has this dream, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and he has this dream, and he goes like, "Hey, fellas, hey, boys, hey, brothers, you guys are gonna bow down to me one day."
Right.
And they're like, "No chance."
Right.
Like that dream, I hate that vision, I hate that dream. We're gonna get rid of you, and so they get rid of him. And then he's, has this journey of getting to that place, but he was confident in his dream, maybe overly, too confident.
Cocky.
Cocky about arrogant.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important when we talk about getting around the right people, is that there's going to be people that really hate your vision.
Well, absolutely. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. So for your listenership that don't know me, well, I mean, I'm a man of faith. I was raised in a certain faith environment. And so, stories like that are important to me. So, in the Bible, there is a story about this young man named Joseph. And at 17 years of age, so, hey, he was 7 years older than I was when I had my vision.
Right.
I'm kind of leaving him behind in the dust. But here's the 17-year-old kid, cocky young kid, who gets this vision for his life given to him through a series of dreams. Yeah. And he has this vision now that he is going to rule and reign, and people, including his brothers, are going to bow the knee to him. And so what happens, it's a great story. Go read it for yourself. It's so full of great examples for us in this context. He captures that vision. He captures that vision, and he just kind of swallows it, lock, stock, and barrel. Yeah. And I think, this is just me thinking, I think if he was normal dude, he probably thought that vision was going to come to fruition in his life sooner than later. Yeah. Don't we want that? We get a vision for our lives. We get an idea. I want to go in this direction. I want to pursue that. I want to achieve, this thing. I want to fulfill that purpose, whatever. Yeah. And we expect it to happen sooner than later. And I think the same thing was for him. And so he starts telling everybody about, one day you're going to bow the knee to me. Here's this 17-year-old kid. It took 13 years for his vision to come to fruition. It wasn't until he was 30 years old that he actually was put in a position to rule and reign and became the governor of Egypt. And lo and behold, people, including his brothers who didn't recognize him, did come and bow the knee to him. Yeah. He fulfilled the vision of his life. And you can fulfill the vision of your life, and you can fulfill the vision of your life, as can I. But oftentimes, we get stuck in this time zone thing because we think it should happen right away. Yeah. And there's a journey that we need to go on.
Totally.
And then at the beginning of this, you talked about, at least in our preamble, we talked a little bit about you got to know where you're at. Yeah. And if you don't know where you're starting from, my goodness sakes, you're going to be lost.
Yeah, and you have to, and I think I think sometimes the vision is the exciting part, and then it's that's not where I am. Yeah, and we have to be really real and really honest and really transparent about where we are, because sometimes we think we're better than we are, we think we're further along the journey than we are,
and sometimes we're harder on ourselves than anybody else, and we think we're further back.
True.
Than we are. Yeah. It can be both of those.
Totally.
I got a story just popped in my mind that maybe can share a little bit of light. Yeah. It's kind of humorous. It's a real story. I remember back when I was in high school, and I hung around with this guy, big, tall guy, lanky guy. He was my best friend. We did everything in the whole world together. His name was Thomas. Yeah. Call him Tom for short. Anyway, it was the first day of grade 10. Back in those days, grade 10 was high school, first day of high school. And here's us two guys. We just freshly come out of grade 9, junior high. Yeah. We're walking the hallways of high school. We thinking we're all that in a bag of chips. Like we really made it. We arrived. And all of a sudden, this group of seniors comes around the corner, and they look at us and they go, "Get him!" And they just start running after us. And so we turn around to just bolt. Now, I'm wearing sneakers, I'm wearing running shoes, so I am out of there. Yeah. Tom, he's wearing cowboy boots. Oof. So he's no traction on the slippery high school, hallway floor. Now, back in those days, there was this thing called, it was called Frosh Week. Frosh Week. It was actually encouraged, where the seniors could pick on the juniors and do stuff to them, whatever. Anyway, they captured Tom. They got him. He couldn't get away. I was faster. It was great. Yeah. I survived. Survival of the fastest, right? They grabbed Tom. They duct tape him. They duct tape his feet, and they duct tape his hands, and they put a hoodie or whatever over him, like a toque or whatever over his head, so he couldn't see. And they just hauled him away. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder if I'm ever going to see this guy alive. And so I followed from a safe distance. They go to the back parking lot, and they throw him in the back of a pickup truck. And these three guys get in the cab of the truck, and I drive away. And I thought, that's it. I wonder if I should phone the police or something, whatever, right? But this is back in the early 80s. Whatever. Well, Tom is at school the next day, and he tells me about what happened. They took him out in the countryside somewhere. And when they got him out in the middle of the countryside somewhere, then they stopped the truck, they pulled over on a gravel road, they tossed him out of the truck, they took the hood off, they took the duct tape off, and then they just spun out and left him in a ditch on this gravel road out in the country somewhere. And they said, "Hey, boy, find your own way back," and left him there. And as they spun gravel out and off they go, one of the guys took a map. Now, of course, I'm the old guy here in the room. Back in the day, they took a map. Remember the maps? Yep. And they threw a map out the window at him. So Tom goes and he grabs the map and he looks at the map. Now, what does a map tell you?
Nothing. Really?
That's a kind
unless you know where you are.
That's the trick part right there. Now, a map will show you destinations.
Yeah, exactly.
So he could look at that map and say, okay, Grand Prairie, Alberta is where we lived at the time, so that's where I need to go. Yeah. That's where my home is, and that's where school is, so I got to get back there. But the map was useless to him because he didn't know where he was.
Exactly.
He didn't know where he's starting from. So when we look at fulfilling vision for our lives, think back to poor old Tom on the side of the road, on a gravel road. He didn't know where he was starting from. You have got to know, take an honest evaluation of your life. Yeah. Don't pat yourself on the back too much, but don't, berate yourself too much either. Have a very realistic evaluation. Where am I starting from? Yep. Where am I? If you don't even know where you're starting from, good Lord, how in the world do you ever expect to get to where it is you think you might want to go?
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got to take an honest, hard look at your life, who you are, and what you're doing, and what circumstances, environments, and situations you find yourself in to know your starting point.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's so key. That's a great story because it really just shows these. And I'm sure he obviously figured it out,
Yeah, he was at school the next day.
Exactly. So he figured it out somehow.
Yeah,
and so I think
cell phones weren't invented then.
Yeah, he can just text his mom, come pick me up. No. Nowadays, that's what it'd be. I don't know where you are. I find my iPhone or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
pin, I'll send you a pin.
Yeah, exactly.
That was way before those days.
And so I think it's so key for us to really find out where we are. And I think there's obviously many ways we can do this. I think one is just really diagnose it for yourself. Yep. I think also inviting and trusted people into your life and say, this is where I want to go, but where do you think I am? Like, can you speak life or speak to it?
That's important. You said that right, and I hope your listenership got that. You asked them, what? Just say that question over again.
I said, I don't.
Where do you think I am?
Where do you think I am? Yeah,
See,
exactly.
The question isn't where do you.
What did I say?
Yeah, the question isn't where do you think I should go.
Yeah, it's where am I?
The question is where am I?
Yeah.
See, this kind of goes back to the little train of thought that derailed a few minutes ago when I was saying, and that is oftentimes we find ourselves listening to people. Well, we're so insecure in ourselves, and we're insecure in our vision. Mm-hmm. What do? We begin to ask those around us, well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? Well, what? Right? What do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? Where do you think I should go? What do you think my vision should be? And it's usually those people don't know.
Right.
They don't know.
No. So
that when we kind of give them an idea of what we think, they're usually the ones that go, yeah, dude, you're out to lunch. You can't do that. Yeah. You're thinking too big. You're blowing smoke up your own palate.
Exactly, yeah.
So you've got to know, where you are, get some good people around you, and ask them, where do you think I'm starting from? Why do you think that? But we don't ask them, where do you think I should go?
Yeah.
What do you think my vision is for life? Wrong question for those people. But definitely right question is,
where do you think I am?
Where do you think I am?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question for us to ask. Again, trusted people?
Trusted.
I think you got to find people that you trust with your future, trust with your vision, and that will be honest to.
People that love you, people that know what makes you tick, and people that can support you, or at least, give you encouragement to pursue that vision.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, so if we look at, closing the gap, I think once we find out where we want to go,
right,
capture that vision, whatever that looks like for you, and then you also have to figure out, okay, now that I know where I want to go, what's my starting point?
Right.
Where am I in the map? I know my destination, Grand Prairie, but what ditch am I in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes we feel like we actually are in the ditch or the depths of the ocean.
Upside down. Yeah.
And then, okay, so now we know, okay, this is where I'm going, this is where I am.
Right.
Now, what steps or what can we do to start to, even at the beginning, so you know the vision, you know where you are. What's like the first thing you should do in order to get there? And then, obviously that's a journey, obviously. Right. But like even right away, what's that first thing that you can do to try and get closer?
Remind me to come back to that. I'm going to take a caveat for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when we begin to think these ways, I'm going to set a goal for myself. Yeah. I'm going to set a vision for myself. I'm going to pursue a certain direction. Oftentimes, we make those decisions based on what I already know I can do. We make those decisions based on what I've already achieved or accomplished. We make those decisions based on what I think I can do if circumstances would be different or better. We make those decisions based on what other people think we could do or should do or encourage us to do. And we make those decisions kind of based on, we might get a great idea. We might get a great vision for our life.
Yeah.
And it might be so far out there that it scares the out of us.
Totally.
Right? But that's good.
Yeah.
But then we go, but I don't know, right? I don't know how to do that. And oftentimes, if we can't answer the how question at that moment of settling on the vision, we talk ourselves out of it and we relinquish it before we even get going.
Right.
So just know that when it comes time to determine what that vision is for your life, what direction you actually want to go, how should never come into the picture. The only thing that should ever come into the picture in the thinking of determining what that vision is and where you want to go is what it is. That's it. Just what do you want?
Right.
What do you want? Once we can determine what we want and get that very crystal clear vision, you've got to have clarity, crystal clear. Then here's another aside. The number one reason why people do not get what they want in life is because they actually don't know what they want.
Exactly.
They don't know what their vision is. They don't know what purpose they're going after. They don't know what they want to accomplish. They don't know what goal is important to them, right? And so you've got to know with clarity what that is. So coming back to what you said, you've got to have clarity of vision. You got to know what that is. But how to get there should never come into the equation when we're identifying the vision for our lives. And so then the second reason why people don't actually achieve what they want in life is because they don't actually know why they want that. So not only do you got to know what that crystal clear vision is for your life, but then you've got to figure out why you want to pursue that vision. And then the third reason why people don't actually get in life what they say they want is because they don't stay focused on it long enough to actually go get it. We live in such a distracted world, interruptions and distractions and blingies and all, and I'm bad for that. It's just gopher, right? I was that kid in school that, I tested positive for ADD and OCD and dyslexia. I'm the 3-part guy. Yeah. Even my baby sister says, Al, you're not ADD, you're ADOS. You know what ADOS is though, right? Attention deficit. Oh, shiny.
That
doesn't
exactly.
So you've got to know what you want. You got to know what vision it is for your life that you can have for yourself. You got to know why that vision, and you got to be able to stay focused on it long enough to actually go get that.
Well, because I think sometimes with the focus, it's like, oh, that seems hard, or now there's something new I want, or whatever, and we just change it.
Right.
So we don't actually start moving forward. We just kind of move linear, sideways.
Yeah.
Because we're going to the next thing rather than actually moving forward. We're just keep like, this is a new vision for my life or whatever.
And I think if that happens, now I'm speculating, but this speculation comes out of my coaching career for the last 17 years. I think when that happens a lot of times, we haven't bought into the original vision deep enough for ourselves. It hasn't excited us enough. It hasn't moved us enough. And if you don't, and I say, if you don't really know why that's the vision for your life, or that's why you want to go after that, and that why doesn't move you at a deep emotional level, you'll relinquish the vision and go get another easier one at the moment the first obstacle is big enough to do that for you.
Yeah, the why is so key, because
absolutely,
I think sometimes the vision is, I want lots of money. I want to have a lot of friends or whatever. So it's small, but it's that what it is. And then all of a sudden it's just like, well, how that's so small. Like it's so.
But it's also so vague.
Yeah, it's vague. So
there's
it's like,
there's no clarity around that whatsoever.
I want to, live in the nice house or whatever. But it's like, there's no why to that. It's just like, that's just what humanity wants. Whoa.
That's kind of impressive right there.
Yeah.
You lost your Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah, exactly.
Wearing these things, I'm so freaked out that I look bald. I should wear a toque anyway.
You don't look bald.
Yeah. So you ask the question, well, how do we move forward in closing the gap between where we are and the vision? So we've talked about some key important things, and number one, you got to have a vision.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we've already given some people a little bit of idea of how to capture that vision, and maybe we can unpack that at another date at a deeper level. But we kind of went over it pretty high level. But then you also got to understand what your now is. Where are you?
Yep.
And you got to be very, very honest with that. Facts are our friends, right? Facts are our friends.
Absolutely.
And if you have a good enough friend, a close friend, a trusted friend, isn't it true that a friend will tell you the hard things when they need to, because they need to? Totally. I mean, if they got to kick your butt, better say it that way, right? They're gonna put the boot to your butt. They're gonna do that. Why? Because they're your friends. Your friends sometimes tell you things that are hurtful. They do it in they do it in a diplomatic, respectful way, but they're gonna tell you things that might hurt you. Why? Because they love you. They're your friends. They want to see you fulfill that vision. Now, so facts are our friends. Yeah. So when you take a factual look at where are you starting from, you might not like what you see, you might not like what it reveals, but understand those facts are your friends.
Yeah, exactly. I think we have to know the facts, and the facts are, like you said, we don't necessarily always like them.
Right.
We don't always like where we are. We don't like it where our life is, but we have to know where it is.
True.
Like you said, like you have to know what the vision is. You have to know where you are. And then I think like you're going to probably go into is the why. Like you have to know why you want it. And it has to be bigger than just, I want it because I want it. I want it because it's just what the world wants or it's what my friends want or my dad wants for me. It's like, it's got to be so much bigger than that for your life and even for your family or your business or your church or whatever. It has to be so much bigger than you too.
Yeah. And like I say, and I didn't really plan on talking about why today, but we'll take 10 seconds out of here, 30.
Yeah.
And I say, I'm going to repeat something one of my mentors pounded into me for years and years. And he says, and so it's so, I mean, he was a pretty famous guy, but that's who I hung around with the last 17 years. But, you know, so it's so famous, it's probably cliche. And he said, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. It won't move you. And so people say, well, why do you want to pursue that vision? Why do you want to do that? And they come up with some noble sounding reason. They come up with something that sounds good, sounds kind of impressive. But if it's not the real reason why you want to fulfill that or chase that, I can probably guarantee you're probably not going to hit it. Even if it's a negative motivator, even if it's a selfish motivator, I don't care what the motivator is. If you don't understand the real reason why you want to pursue that vision for your life, accomplish that or that purpose for your life, you're not going to do it. Or if you're fluke out enough to get it, you're probably not going to maintain you're probably not going to hold on to it very long.
Yeah, and that's the other part is sometimes we get to the vision and then we're like, now I've made it. Right? Like I've made it here finally. This
you probably didn't have a big enough vision for your life.
Exactly.
It was pretty weenie.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess like as we, continue this conversation again, it's the where do I want to go? Where am I? And why I want to get there? The three major questions.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest things when it comes to it is faithfulness.
Absolutely. Like I said, the third reason why people don't actually achieve what it is that they want in life, and in this case, we're talking about vision. So I would say the third biggest reason why people don't actually fulfill the vision they have for their life is because they can't stay focused on that vision long enough to go get it. Back before, I'm not trying to turn this into a political podcast, and I'm not saying anything about any particular person, but there's a guy, former president of the United States named Donald Trump. Before he became president of the U.S., back when he was just doing real estate. I saw him speak one time, and he gave this great acronym for the word focus, FOCUS, right? Yeah. Finish one course until successful. And it's so simple, but it's so profound. And if you've got a vision for your life and you know why you want to achieve that and why you want to fulfill that, and that why is big enough and it'll move you beyond, any obstacle that's going to come your way. Now you have to have the discipline. Oh, we hate that word. Discipline sucks. We have to build discipline to focus on the fulfillment of that one course, a vision, until successful.
Right.
And by the way, if you think that you're going to have to wait until you get discipline to have the discipline to go after that thing, you're delusional. Pull your head out of your, you're delusional and you're not going to go very far. You get discipline by building discipline on the road too.
Yeah, exactly. You're never going to make it to your vision unless you discipline yourself to not quit. And that's easy to quit. I think sometimes like the vision is so big, it's painful to get there. Right. It's hard work to get there, year after year, sometimes decade after decade of blood, sweat, and tears that you've poured into this vision. And there's so many times where like, I want to quit. But discipline and faithfulness and courage to just keep going, even when there's not a lot of voices speaking life into you. It's just to keep going and be faithful.
We didn't talk about this in our preamble or discussion before we turned the camera on, but it makes me think of something, in my profession as a success coach and as a results consultant, I have had over the years so many people reach out to me and say, "Hey, could I just pick your brain?
Yeah,
I got this idea, right? I have this vision. I have an idea to go after a certain thing." Yeah. Sometimes I say, "Oh my God, I don't know if there's much left to pick up here. Yeah. It's kind of mush." But I always let them pick away, right? Go ahead, pick. And so often they come to me with what? They come to me with their vision. I have a vision to open this business. I have a vision to have this kind of organization. I have a vision to fulfill this. I have a vision to achieve that. I have a vision. And then they say, "Well, what do you think?" And I go, "Well, it doesn't matter what I think, right? It's what you think. It's your vision." But then they say, "Well, how do I get started?" And I think maybe sometimes, a lot of your listeners right now might be asking the same thing. Well, you talked about this, but now if I already have a vision for my life and I've evaluated where I am and I realize I got to know what I want and I got to know why I want it and I got to have, some focus and faithfulness to it. Sure, great. How do I get started? Yeah. I'm going to give your listenership a question to ask yourself that is, I guarantee you, a life changer. I can guarantee you this is going to be a life. This will change your life if you actually write this down and then you actually use it and take yourself through this. And I'm not even going to charge you for it.
Hey, that's it.
And this has been worth millions of dollars for lots of people that I know. And it goes like this. If I act on this idea, will it move me in the direction of my dream without violating the rights of other people? I'll say that again slow. If I act on this idea, will it move me in the direction of my dream or my vision, right? Without violating the rights of other people.
Right.
And so the first word in that is what? It's if. I mean, that does tell you have a choice. You're either going to get off your arse and do something, or you're going to stay on your sofa. By the way, sofa just stands for soft, oversized, fat ass, right? You can either sit on your sofa and do nothing, or you're going to get off the sofa and go do something. So it's an if. If I act on a certain idea, and I say that, Dustin, because when you know what your vision is, you capture a vision for your life, and you want to put some wheels to that and catapult yourself forward to fulfill a certain purpose in life. You're going to think about it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to dream about it. You're going to journal about it. You're going to research it. You're going to study it. You're going to talk about it, sing about it, dance about it. You're going to everything about it. Yeah. And ideas are going to come. They're going to come from every direction possible and from every means that you don't even have a clue where the ideas are coming from, but ideas are going to come. And when ideas come, right, the litmus test is this. If I act on that idea that has come, right, and it might come from my inner circle, trusted person that loves me, knows me. You've talked about that. Yeah. It might come from a billboard that goes by me in 3 seconds time because I'm doing 100 down the highway. And I might get an idea from, I've overheard a conversation from a couple of strangers at the coffee shop. I don't even know the context of what they're saying, but it plants an idea in my mind. I might read something. I might watch a podcast. It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to get an idea. But when that idea comes, hey, geez, I wonder, right? If I act on that idea, will it move me? It's not you. Yeah, will it move me in the direction of my vision? Right. See, it might be a brilliant idea for you, but a lousy idea for me. It might move you in the direction of your vision, but not me in the direction of my vision. Right? Yeah, so just because it's a good idea, is it a good idea for me? Is it a good idea for you?
Because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's the right idea.
It doesn't mean it's the right idea. So if I act on this idea, will it move me in the direction of my vision without violating the rights of other people? So if I've got to stab somebody in the back to get it, or I've got to cheat to get, or I'm going to crawl over, the success ladder a couple of rungs to step on this guy to get that. Yeah, no, that's not how we're going to do things. That's good. So if I act on this idea, will it move me in the direction of my vision without violating the rights of other people? Now we've got one of 3 answers. What is it? Yes, no, and I don't know, maybe. Right? So it's either yes it will. Yes, even if the idea is little, small, dinky, and you go, that's so insignificant. But if you don't do the insignificant thing, you're going to get stuck. People go, I feel stuck. How do I get moving? I feel like I'm going nowhere in my vision. Well, you were probably because you weren't obedient to the last thing that you knew you were supposed to do. Go back and do it. You'll get unstuck. So if the answer is yes, now you have to take immediate action on that. Not action tomorrow, not action yesterday. If the idea has come now and you've tested that idea and it's a yes, you've got to take action on it now. Right. Or you could say, nope. If I act on that idea, it's not going to move me. It might move me, but it's going to move me in the wrong direction. Right. Or it might move me in a direction to a different vision. Or it might be, I don't know. The answer could just be no. Yeah. And if the answer is no, then don't try to force a square peg into a round hole and make it work. If the answer is no, just dismiss it. Right. Thank you for sharing. Right. Move on.
Yeah. And put your energy into the right things.
Absolutely. And if the answer is, I don't know, maybe, because that's a plausible answer.
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
What do? Treat it like a yes. Act on it immediately. And I can guarantee in an extremely short period of time, you're going to know with clarity whether that's a yes or a no. And when you find out with clarity if it's a yes or no, act accordingly. Right. That'll change your life. Go forward, I guarantee that's going to change your life.
That's so good. I think, as we maybe close, I think, if we were to just kind of recap when it comes to closing that gap, okay, we're going to close the gap from vision to reality. I think the 3 questions we have to ask is, where am I now? Right. Where am I going? Where do I want to go? Absolutely. And why? Why do I want to get there?
Can I just add to that just a little?
Please do.
See, and this comes from so many years of experience for me, but it also comes from my journey as well because I experienced it the same way. So I'll put on a seminar. I'll put on a workshop. Yeah. And we're actually going to work through this in the weekend-long seminar. I haven't held one in a while. Yeah. I haven't held one since before COVID, but and so I'm going to use that as an example. One of my interactive live weekend workshops or seminars, and we talking about this exact issue. And then I get somebody that comes up to me at the end of the day, I know my why. I know why I want to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. You're just blowing smoke up my pant leg, dude. You don't. And people think why? Because they can answer the question. I know why. Here's what I can guarantee you. If you haven't drilled down at least 6, 7, 8 layers down, you're still coming up with the noble, nice sounding answers as to why.
Right.
You've got to put some time in. You've got to put some effort in.
Yeah.
I came out of the oil patch for years and years. So, one of the people out on site is the safety consultant. When a safety consultant gets hired to come out to because there's been an incident or an accident, they have to drill down at least 6 questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how, to actually get to the real understanding of why that incident or that accident happened. And I say the same thing. You've got to drill down at least 6 layers down as to why you want that. Because if you haven't gotten down far enough, that far, you're still coming up with good sounding, fluffy stuff that the next guy says. Yeah, exactly. And so here's how this actually looks. I'll take a piece of paper and I'll get the people, my client, to write down, well, why do I want to fulfill this vision? Yeah. And then it's a writing exercise. Why do I want to fulfill this vision for my life? And then when you come up with whatever the idea that is, I want to fulfill this vision for my life because, and then I write that down. Write it down. Yeah. Now, as soon as you write that down, the next question is, but why that?
Right.
And then answer that question. And whatever that question comes up for an answer, why that? And you got to do that at least 6, 7 times, if not more, to really find out what the true reason, the motivator is to fulfill that vision. Right. And if you haven't done that work, it's just a matter of time that you'll relinquish the vision. You'll give up on it. You'll be frustrated. You'll go on somewhere else. I want to go do this other thing because you haven't connected at a deep enough why that you want it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes the why is, I have the time. I got time to do it. Or I feel like it'd be fun, things like that.
No, you're not probably going to be very successful.
Sorry. The depth of it, because eventually it's not going to be fun anymore.
Yeah, shallow.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's really it. Like, those are the questions, right?
Absolutely.
Where am I going? Why do I want to get there? Where am I right now?
Right.
And then just kind of go forward kind of with that. Because I think the thing is, when it comes to all these questions, is that there's going to be painful moments when you're figuring out the why.
You think?
Because you might get to it and be like, wow, this is a very selfish vision. Like, this is very just about me. And I think our vision really, should not just be about us. It should be for people. It should be to help people and to engage people and
you're right.
create jobs for people or whatever it looks like.
If we're put on the planet to serve.
Yeah.
Sorry to burst your bubble. If you think that your vision is all about going after something that just you want because you want that, a certain kind of lifestyle, it's to serve you, holy smokes, you're a shallow...
Well, and I think you realize your why quickly is you'll realize the why quickly in that.
Well, and here's a perfect example. So when I got to the place where I realized I wanted to make a shift from working in the oil field to being the motivational speaker that I had dreamed about since I was 10 years old, I made that shift and I began to move into that area. And although I had so many people over the years tell me that I had this sort of this natural, innate ability to communicate, connect as a speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But grandma used to say, don't rest on your laurels. Don't rest on, whatever. And so, but then came my mentors taking me through this process. But Al, why do you want to be the motivational speaker? And I came up with all these great sounding, noble answers. I want to make a lot of money so that my family never has to suffer like I did. I want to make sure that my children have a lot of the advantages that I never had when I was growing up. I want to change the world for the better. I want to influence, the world for. I mean, all this great, good sounding stuff. Yeah. But the true motivator at that time was very selfish for me. And I had a big ego. Yeah. And I just wanted my ego stroked. And if I could get on your platform and I could do a good job, I had to do a good job. Yeah. Still got to do a good job, right? Do a good job. And the audience would stand up and applaud me with a standing ovation. And then the guy that hired me would put a nice big fat check in my pocket. That's why I wanted to do it. Yeah. But that was really, really short. Now, to be honest with you, I was not a very successful motivational speaker until I actually realized what my real why was. Even though it was a selfish why, even though it might have been some people might say a negative motivator, I had to own it. I had to admit it to myself, say it out loud. When I did that, the success level in my career took right off. It really did. Why? Because I was deluding myself. Right. But then once I began to shift say, okay, I own that. And this is a very selfish thing, and I just had this big fat ego, and please stroke it because I had a low self-esteem. But once I admitted that, then I was able to move past that. Not only did I grow as a speaker, but I grew as a human, as a person, as a man, right? As an empathic person who cares about people. And then the reason why, my why began to change.
Right.
But in the moment, when I first got it, why do I want to fulfill that vision? I don't care if it's a negative motivator or a selfish motivator. If it's a positive motivator, it doesn't matter. But you got to know why, the real reason why.
Yeah, that's so
I think
good.
I've taken us off track.
Yeah, no, hey, I think it's good. I think all this stuff is so good. And I think really it all kind of does come under that closing the gap. Because, like, again, we could talk about this for forever. Because there's so many things to do. But I think, again, if we just kind of bring it down to the bare minimum, it really is, what do you feel? Whether you feel God has placed it on your heart to pursue, maybe it's something you're passionate about. I think one of the biggest things to find out vision too is what makes you the most angry in the world, and go make a difference in that.
Hell yeah.
That might be what it is, right? And so what is it that makes you angry, and go pursue fixing that problem. And so figure out what that vision is, what inside of you is the world waiting for, what is it that only you can do, what is it that you have that the world needs, and then figure out, okay, that's awesome because that's really cool, but it's like, now, okay, where am I right now? Because you're not there. And if you are there, you got to have a bigger vision.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd love to unpack that with you at another time if we had the ability to do that. You know, Bill Hybels used a phrase that I have adopted, and that is, you're wholly discontent. I think you just kind of thought, that thing that just when you see it, or you hear about it, it propels you off the sofa. You're so you're so discontented with that thing, it propels you to go and do something about it and fulfill what? Your vision for a certain purpose, to serve a certain people. And he calls it having a Popeye moment. And I had my Popeye moment. It was a heck of a Popeye moment. And it pushed me. I couldn't stay on the sofa anymore. But it's a great thing to talk about under the umbrella of vision. Maybe we'd unpack that one day.
Again, there's so much. So again,
and another one is, maybe again, if we have another opportunity, hey, if you're liking this, by the way, then like it and share it, and then put in the comments, hey, Dustin, I want you to unpack this at a deeper level. Maybe we can come back and do that.
Love that.
But there's a whole concept that we didn't get to today. We didn't have the time, but it's called, the law of gender, the universal law of gender. There's universal laws that govern everything in the world, right? The law of flight, the law of buoyancy, the law of gravity, the law of compensation, whatever. There's all these laws that exist. And there's one that is so relevant to vision, and that is the law of gestation. And it just basically says that every seed has an incubation and gestation period. Right? So I put a physical seed in the ground, in the dirt. There is a time of incubation and gestation before it sprouts and can grow into something that would allow me to have a harvest. Well, the thought seed of your vision, it's the same. It has an incubation and gestation period. And there's a time when a farmer plants a seed, but time goes by and he has I can't see into the dirt. Tell. Is it even happening? Am I stuck? Am I plateaued? Am I just sitting here like, I don't know? But a farmer doesn't go and pull the seed out of the ground every day to see if it's sprouting. He doesn't dig up his crop. He has to have knowing and understanding and have faith that the law of the law of gender is actually working. The law of gender has nothing to do with male-female sex, right? And so we could unpack that another day too, how the law of gender, your thought seeds of what you want to achieve in your life and what vision you want to fulfill yourself, has an gestation and incubation period attached to that, and how that plays out, and how you need to understand that to use that to your advantage.
Right, totally.
Yeah,
that's so good. Yeah, again, there's so many things to talk about, but I guess, like, last thing, as we talk about this, I guess just how would people find you? You know, if people are looking to find you on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Yeah,
I've got 3 different Facebook pages. I got my personal one, Alan Goff, and then I have the Alan Goff community, and then I have Achieving Goals with Coach Al. Okay. But the easiest way, and I have Facebook, and I have all the platforms. Yeah. The easiest way, though, is just go to my website, alangoff.ca. www.alangoff.ca. It's just I have 2 4-letter words for names. ALANGOFF. ALANGOFF.ca.
I'll write that in the comments.
Go to alangoff.ca, and then on the website, up in the corner, you can click on all the logos, right? Cool. You can click on the Facebook logo and it'll take you to my page. You can click on the LinkedIn logo, it'll take you to my LinkedIn. You can go whatever. But then there's also a contact me page, and you can send me an email.
Awesome.
And I tell people this all the time. I'm really great. I am fantastic at only a couple of things. But but there's a lot of things I suck at.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I suck at really bad is reading people's minds. Yep. So if you think that you want to reach out to me, I don't know that you're thinking that you should reach out to me, so I can't reach out to you. So you have to take the initiative to do that. But I promise people this: if somebody takes the initiative to go to my website and reach out to me, whether it's sending me an email from the contact me page on my website, or they go to any platform, social media platform, and send me a message from there, I will always, I promise, I will always reply back personally.
Awesome.
And
so cool.
Would likely even extend to you probably a 30, 40-minute telephone call with me just to see if I can help you get moving along.
Awesome. Well, hey, so that's alangoff.ca. Again, I'll put that in our kind of all our stuff, and reach out. And again, we're looking forward. Maybe we'll have you on again.
That'd be great.
That'd be amazing. I appreciate you coming on today, and thank you for sharing your wisdom, sharing your insight with us. It's been awesome.
I can't imagine how much time has gone by, but it seems like it was just minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was having a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
This has been great. Thanks for making my voice sound so good. I've never sounded so masculine and manly in my life.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, again, thank you, Alan, so much. And thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you next week.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you for joining us today for the Known Podcast. We have new content coming out every Wednesday, so make sure to come back next week for a new episode. If you haven't yet, make sure to follow us on Instagram @Known Podcast and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. See you next week.